You are listening to Unplugged, a podcast from one of America's leading electric cooperatives. Now here's your host, Jacob Puckett.
What's going on, Tony? You doing all right?
I'm doing well, Jacob. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I have Tony Wheeler, System Operations Manager, with me today, and this is part 2 of our Helene series. And I'm probably going to say this for every single episode, but I couldn't think of a better person to get in here early on than someone who's in system operations, right? I explained this in the first podcast that system operations really is the heartbeat of the company, as far as keeping people safe, getting people where they need to be, or getting them on the right job at the right time, and really coordinating our entire plan of attack during a restoration process. System operations plays a huge role in that. Is there anything I'm missing, or is there anything you would like to explain about system operations to maybe members at home who aren't familiar with what system operations is?
Well, yeah, system operations it's really varied. I mean, there's a lot of different aspects of the utility that we actually are involved with. Really, there's someone 24/7 that's going to be in system operations. There's always a system operator that's watching the system, making sure that everything is operating the way it should. And if there's any outages or anything like that occur, to make sure we get the right appropriate crews and to the location and finding all the information that we can. A lot of it is looking at a lot of the, if you think about it, we got a lot of stuff that's coming in. We've got multiple applications to look at and monitor. We got 50 to 55 different applications that we're viewing and monitoring at the same time, trying to get all the information that we possibly can. A lot of the times I compare the System Operations Center to a computer. We get a lot of input, a lot of data that comes into our department, and then we process that, analyze that information, and then we put it back out into other departments or to crews to go to sites and to help in the process of restoration of power. The one thing I do love the most about it is a lot of folks will think that System Operations Center is always a input in, analyze, and then react and do something that goes out into the system. However, I think one of the biggest things that maybe is not known about system operations is we're a very proactive department. We're a department that actually reviews old outage data and things that we've had in the past, and we analyze that data and actually send crews to areas to try to prevent outages. We like to be more proactive than reactive. Even though we have to be reactive whenever storms and outages occur and other things occur, we take a great deal of pride in being proactive, being able to actually help send crews, and it's a teamwork effort with our operations department, engineering, and others to go out and actually resolve issues before they occur so that a member never actually experiences those outages. And we find a lot of things like that out in the field. So not only reactive, but we're a very proactive department.
Speaking of being proactive, Helene, really any storm, but let's talk about this one in particular. What does the lead up for you guys look like a couple days before the storm? Because I'm kind of going to walk through this, I think, chronologically. So let's talk about the lead up of the storm. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, this is going to be one area I know you well in this aspect is weather. SOC is really a area that really focuses on predictive analysis. We're always looking at potential of weather events that may be coming into our area, and then deciding, what is that going to do to our area? How much damage could it cause us? Is it something that we need to notify other departments about and having it so that they can get prepared and ready for anything that may occur from this event? Helene, different creature. We watched that closely. We actually watched this out 2 weeks out from the storm, and we were showing concerns from 2 weeks out, which normally we don't do that. We like to kind of keep it in a 3 to 4 day window, as you know as well, that we like to watch that. But the conditions were just right for this hurricane. And a week out, we were getting more concerned. But as it moved closer and closer to shore, once it goes across the Gulf, hurricanes can make all kinds of different direction changes. They have a cone, and it's a cone of uncertainty that we watch. And we kind of watch and see where the eye of the storm's going inside that cone. And when we saw Helene moving closer and closer to shore and coming a little bit more east, we started getting more and more concerned. At first, when we saw it coming across into the shore, and we saw that there was a prediction it was going to go over Atlanta, that would have been a little less impactful on us if it went directly over Atlanta. But we were really concerned that if it veered a little bit to the east and put the dangerous side of the hurricane closer to our area, then it could be quite devastating for our area. And it did exactly that. As it got on land, it wobbled a little bit over more toward the western side of North Carolina, and we knew that it was going to be a pretty bad storm.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely wobbled to the east. I mean, and I know you and I have talked about this before, but some of the weather models were kind of outliers that night, showing that wobble east towards Augusta and in Athens area, then plowing its way up through the upstate of South Carolina, and that was kind of considered the outlier solution that night. But it was kind of clear, when that thing was getting ready to make landfall near Perry, Florida, it was deviating east of the National Hurricane Center track. And that's not a criticism of forecasts or anything like that. The hurricanes wobble and they do that kind of thing, and it's really hard to project exactly where it's going to make impact at. So the storm hits. Take me through from the time you wake up that morning to the time your head finally hits the pillow at whatever hour that was. I know you practically lived here for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So take me through everything from your thoughts to how the day started from when you came into the office to when you left.
Yeah. Highly concerned. The part about going to sleep that night, it really didn't quite happen. Thursday, we already had this front that was over our area and it was dropping a lot of rain, and that was a major concern to us. It's softening up the ground. It's already starting the flooding process, and then we knew that the hurricane more wobbled to the east and coming close to us and putting us on the dangerous side of the storm, that it was going to even bring us more rain. And then those high winds. And with that softening ground and already flooded in the area, certain areas, and we're going to add more. I think Watauga ended up with about 20 inches or a little more of rain. We knew it was going to be pretty devastating for our area. So Thursday was already starting to see some outages come in. So it was really highly concerned. We kind of watched it all through the night and watching closer that how far east was this hurricane actually going to come over toward us. Then the next morning we knew that it was going to be pretty bad. So we was all in here really early in the System Operations Center monitoring the situation. And as far as leading up to the storm, anxious because we knew something bad was going to happen. We just didn't know how severe it was going to be. We just knew it was going to be pretty devastating. Now the next step is what happened when it did occur. I don't know if you want to go straight on into that.
Yeah, let's right there though. You come into the office and the outages start to pour in, and I talked about this a little bit in the first podcast of this series with Blake Herman. We talked about how lively system operations is during this. How would you describe the atmosphere? How would you describe just really, I guess, the adrenaline going on for you guys in that situation? Maybe paint a picture for some of the folks who've never been in a operations center during a storm like this.
Yeah, we have so many different applications, so many different systems that we're monitoring, and everything has to have an alarm. I mean, I guess it's a requirement. It's got to have some kind of a sound, and it's got to have some kind of flashing lights. So when you have a major event like this, it's just our screens are lit up with alarms and letting us know kind of what's going on. But I would say once it gets started, a lot of people would think that we're really highly stressed, and I think that's when maybe it's just the utility itself, but everybody kind of gets calm and starts thinking. You kind of get anxious before the storm, and like I was telling you before, leading up to the storm, we was all very nervous about the situation because we knew something was going to occur. But when it starts occurring and all the alarms go off and all the banners fly up on our screens, I think you see a calmness that comes across the group, and we're trying to find out what can we do to mitigate some of this situation that we have out in the field. So everybody gets to focused on what we want to do. And I've don't want to fail to mention this is the room is not just system operators. The room is full of other folks as well, like engineers, members of the operations team. There's several folks getting together and trying to figure out what we can do to help mitigate some of the issues that this storm is bringing to our membership. But it's a high stressful time, but that's when your training kicks in, and that's whenever you come across and you try to be very focused, very calm, so that we can try to figure out what we need to do to help mitigate this situation.
One thing I've always appreciated about your job is you guys do an excellent job of putting together good reports, kind of getting the scope of the damage and summarizing it in a way that sometimes it's tough pill to swallow, but really kind of painting the picture of what happened to our area. So do you want to dive into some of those numbers real quick? I know you've probably got some stats for us, just how devastating a storm was, but then too, I'm hoping you can put some context into those numbers. One thing we shared on social media during the storm was just how long it can take to get a pole replaced on a standard day, good conditions, flat ground. We rarely have flat ground, and rarely have good conditions. So, kind of put some context into that. But this was easily the most devastating storm in cooperative history. So, what numbers made it the most devastating storm in cooperative history?
Yeah, you're looking at the peak of the storm, and you're talking about meter count. We have roughly, at the time of the storm, we had roughly 80,000 meters that was on the system that were active. Okay, we lost at the peak of the storm around 70,600. We was able to go back and see exactly our peaks once the storm is over, and about 70,600 meters were off at one time. So if you put that in perspective, that's about 88% of our system that was out at one time. A little over, if you're taking the whole breadth of the storm, about 73,000 of our meters were off during the storm. So that's a little over 92% of our system was out of power at one point in time during the storm. So that's the largest we've ever had as far as Blue Ridge, and to see that in the system operations side of it is kind of it's really different. I mean, to see that many meters off at one time, and knowing that getting a plan together with the team to try to say, here's how we tackle this is pretty dynamic. As far as the total device locations, outage device locations, we had a little over 2,400. So that's a lot of, and these are device locations. These are places like breakers and fuses and things like that were out. So a little over 2,400 of those during the time of the storm. Talking about devices themselves, broke poles, you're looking around 900 right now, and we're still finding some here and there that we're replacing. But right now we're around the 900 range on the broke pole area, and then 450 damaged transformers that we had to replace. So this is numbers like we've never seen before at Blue Ridge. So these are huge numbers that we had. The most concerning thing to me, the statistic that stands out more than any other statistic that I just mentioned, is looking at the average number of active services before and after the storm. Right now, and this is still going up, we are 200 less active services now than we were before the storm.
It's not good.
No, that's not good, and that usually means that a residence or a location was severely damaged. The majority of those 200, I'm sure, is that's severely damaged and are not working right now as they're making repairs, or there is some services that are just no longer there. So that is the most concerning part to me, and the statistic that really hits home.
Yeah, it's mind-numbing, and it's really humbling to see because we talk about this quite a bit, but when you see hurricanes, when you see really bad storms, you typically have that perspective of it didn't happen in our area, so you kind of feel separated from it. You can't get away from this. I mean, whether you're in Ashe, Watauga, parts of Caldwell County, Allegheny County, Avery, Wilkes County, everybody was touched by this storm one way or another. You either had really bad wind and down trees, or you had severe flooding, landslides. This really was the kitchen sink storm, so to speak. But Tony, so good to have you with us. Good to talk to someone in system operations, the heartbeat of the company, especially during the storms. Thanks for all you did during the storm. Thanks for what everybody in system operations did. I know I can speak for the chaos of that room. Y'all were calm, but the chaos in the sense that every 5 minutes there is an alarm going off, exactly. There's something dinging. But it's really impressive, and hey, we're through it, and hopefully we don't have one of these again for long time. Knock on wood. Yeah. Audible knock on wood. So put it out there in the world. But thanks again, Tony. It's good to have you on.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate you having me.